Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today to hear from Help for HD International and HDYO on CMS, the IRA, all these acronyms that make no sense to any of us, but we are learning what they mean. I don't know if we need to introduce ourselves. I'm Katie Jackson, CEO of Help for HD International. Jenna?
Hi, Jenna Heilman, Executive Director of the Huntington's Disease Youth Organization, or HDYO.
We have come together in a partnership because, as many of you have probably already heard when you guys got the email, and I know HDSA has put out an email and others have put out about what's going on with the Inflation Reduction Act and how CMS is playing a role within that. So we wanted to come on and break down what we know. Jenna and I have gone on a couple talks together and with the Movement Disorder Policy Coalition and other companies to learn more about this act, what it could have as an effect on us in the future. And then we also came up with templates and ways, if you want to fight and use your voice, how you can do that. And we wanted to support you through that. So I would just start with Jenna. I'll turn it over to you to explain what is CMS.
Yeah, so CMS is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So what they do is they really regulate the different expenses that go through the two programs of Medicare and Medicaid. And that can get a little bit a little bit divisive when we talk about Medicare and Medicaid. And I think it's important to understand that what we're talking about, first of all, Katie and I are not policy experts. We're not. We working with the Movement Disorder Policy Coalition has been really helpful to understand the whole big picture and some potential challenges with Huntington's disease research when it comes to something like this. And so this is not a political conversation. It has nothing to do with administrative choices. This was something that was set in place to help monitor drug costs and really help save money for the government who pays for these drugs through Medicare.
So that's one thing I think people need to understand. This has most of people, 58% of people on Austedo is the drug that's on the list. 58% of people on Austedo is paid for by Medicare, right? But only 93% of those people pay anything. Their copays are usually zero. We aren't talking about saving you money. And I just want to make that clear. Like, it's not going to save you any amount of money. There is a small percentage of people that self-pay for Austedo, but it is a very small amount. And if you self-pay, you probably have quite a bit of money because this is a very expensive drug. Very expensive. Majority of people are using Medicare to pay for these medications that we're on, especially a medication like Austedo or Ingrezza.
And I think it's safe to say, Katie, that if this was a method to lower drug prices that the majority of the HD community would feel personally for themselves, this would be a little bit of a different conversation because we completely acknowledge, as Katie said, that drug prices are too high. But what's been going on is that the CMS has pulled forward about a dozen or so medications that they are renegotiating the cost of specifically for the Medicare spending.
Unfortunately, the first 10 were already negotiated last year. And then this year they thought there would be 10 and they decided to do fifth was number 12. So let's talk about, Jenna, I'll let you push in here. What could this do? And one thing that went out by HDSA and others is this could affect innovation. What does that really mean? Like innovation for us, that was really confusing. I didn't know if they're talking about nonprofits, research and development, future drugs. So Jenna and I learned what this meant on these meetings. So
Yeah.
Jenna, I want to talk about innovation in the future and how this may have a negative effect on that.
I think it's also important to say that this is a may. This is not a clear cut, this is going to happen. I think that's what's so confusing about this process because it's a relatively new process and we're just not exactly sure what this means. I think it's important to say that with Austedo is approved for two different disease areas. One is tardive dyskinesia and then one is Huntington's disease, specifically for treating chorea. One of the missing pieces of this is what we feel like is that better understanding of the need for comprehensive treatment for Huntington's disease. So as these companies are investigating the different therapies to address the cognitive challenges, somatic instability, lowering Huntington proteins, lowering or tackling this disease through disease modifying therapies like gene therapy, anything along those lines, we are worried that this puts HD research in a really critical state where maybe they won't continue to fund those different studies. And we've seen that specifically in Johnson, who went through, or because of another renegotiation, they ended up pulling out of looking at a specific cardiac disorder because of that renegotiation, which is really disappointing because the underlying thing is that we have to raise awareness for the importance of continuing to research, continuing to find therapies for Huntington's disease. And the government and the medical agencies don't understand how difficult that is and don't understand what you all have to go through. And really, I think I speak for Katie too, one of our interests in having voices be heard throughout this is to spread the awareness of Huntington's disease, and that a rare neurodegenerative disease that is terminal should not be a part of these negotiations when there's no other viable treatments to help support them with future clinical trials and drug therapies, because our concern is what could happen. And there's a step-by-step process with this negotiation that includes, and we'll talk about ways to get involved, but what we're really looking at is that next step after this first one, where we're looking at this open listening session, where we want to have voices from the HD community to say, look, this is a very different kind of disease than what you're focusing on with these negotiations. And the reason that those negotiations could be harmful for future understanding of this disease and future therapies.
I think we really have to, the one thing that I think pushed us to push this harder was the Johnson & Johnson story that we learned. We do have amazing therapies, possible future therapies and treatments coming in the pipeline, right? We have the Unicures, the PTCs, the Waves, the Genentechs, right? Like all these different companies and companies that are further behind that are looking at HD and bringing potential curative and potential life-saving, changing therapies for our community. The last thing we want to do is see that put in jeopardy in any way, shape, or form. And I am not saying CMS is trying to put us in jeopardy. I don't think they are. They are trying to save money. They're trying to save government money, but in doing that, they are putting us in jeopardy for future research and development, possibly. No scare tactics, possibly. And we saw that within the cardio space.
Yeah, and I think it's all possibly, and that's the scariest thing, is that again, we just don't know. So I think this is a great educational opportunity for us lifting the voices of people impacted by Huntington's disease, to better inform, again, CMS about what is Huntington's disease, what are the big gaps in this, because it needs to be a whole community effort to spread this awareness in order to get that support throughout the different medical systems in the US.
Yeah. And as I've talked to community members a little bit further about this, like they're talking about what if I'm on Austedo and this does get renegotiated, what does this look like for us? We don't know. We really don't. We don't know if you are then going to be able to stay on Austedo. We don't know if you're going to have to go on tetrabenazine, which we all know is the generic, right? Which unfortunately has a very large side effect profile. They don't have the XR in that form. So it's like it could possibly change the medication you're on, but we don't know once again. Once again, we don't know. And so that's yet to be determined. What we do know is that things will probably change. We just don't know how yet. And it's important to note that a drug takes around $873 million to get to market. To me, that's just unbelievable, right? Almost $1 billion for a drug to go from a petri dish, right? From bench to bedside, where we are actually, and then us getting access to it. And so we understand that pharmaceutical companies, investors, they have to put forth a lot of money upfront, a lot of money. We just saw Novartis, billions of dollars, right? Go into with PTC. We know that it is a business and they want to get paid back. They're making money, a lot of money. But I think that what we do need to understand is we aren't siding with them. We're not in the pockets of the pharmaceutical companies. And I want to make that clear because I have heard people talk about that. And we are not. We know we need cheaper drug costs. We know we need better access to drugs and life-changing medications for our community in the future. We understand and we're going to fight for that. We just know there's a lot of unknowns in this. And if it is going to put any halt in innovation and research and development in the future, we need to use our voice. Let's move into what we can do. So that's like where we're at, what we know, where we're heading, what can we do? So on February 1st, actually the day before February 1st, I don't remember if that's January 31st or 30th, because they opened it.
It's the 31st.
The 31st, they opened it a day early.
Yeah.
So we heard that CMS was going to open the portal for public hearing. And let me tell you why they did that real quick. last round, there was 10 drugs last year that were negotiated. And CMS really didn't think that people were going to really stand up and say, hey, well, wait, look, how is this going to affect me? I want to use my voice, but they did. So CMS scrambled together and put together this really clunky, horrible portal for people to come and use their voice and tell about their story of the impact of your disease burdens, and also a little bit about the drug and how it has impacted your life. It was a bad first model from what we have heard, really bad. So now with this round of drug, these next 15 that they're doing the year later, they decided they thought they improved the portal. I am here to tell you it is horrible. It is bad. It is terrible. They did not use the portal, but they think they did. It's terrible. But so the portal open, here is the thing. The portal is only open for 30 days. That's it. As of March 1st, this portal will be closed. So we have a very short period of time, which really shows how much CMS cares about our voice. Don't get me started on that. We should have more time, but we don't. The portal is open and it's hard. Health for HD and HDO, we went together and we looked at all of these questions and we decided we're going to create a template because a lot of the questions are confusing. They're redundant, which is really crazy. It's like asking the same question over again. And then we've heard also it keeps crashing. So we want to have a template for you guys to be able to cut and copy if you want to.
So I think it's also important to acknowledge the fact that this is not a friendly process for people impacted by a neurodegenerative disease that affects cognition as well. And so that's why we wanted also to be able to provide a platform for you all to collect your stories and your voice in a way to prepare you so you're not spending too much time on this. And it's important to understand that you don't have to answer every question. You can answer what's most important. You're not going to be penalized for answering one question or 5 questions or all of the questions. It's just really about what are the key points that you want to convey about your experiences with Huntington's disease. And you also don't have to be an Austedo patient to participate.
That's huge.
So that's another really important thing. Yeah. And you can be a caregiver, and we have a whole list because, again, they made this really templated for all diseases. So there are very loose guidelines with who their definitions apply to, but we created some example definitions of if you fit within these different demographics, which one to consider completing as those different surveys.
Yeah. And I think that, Jenna, to reiterate that, because I know the first email that went out, I know that HDSA sent out an email that said urgent Austedo users. So I think that did confuse people. Yes, it is urgent for Austedo users, but it is not just for Austedo users, right? This is for all of us that we can participate in. So don't let that defer you that you're not on Austedo, never been on Austedo. Please still go in the portal and talk about the disease and how it impacts your life and your family, and ignore the word that they use, condition, please. That's frustrating in itself, but we can't do anything about that. That was CMS. We were also told that if you don't know how to answer a question, like Jenna said, you don't have to answer every question. And if you don't know how, or you don't answer it, it's that easy. So it's better not to answer it than try to answer it and feel uncomfortable in yourself in any way. Another thing, be careful of giving any identifying information. Remember, this is a government portal, right? This is, and your name, your address, your CAG, like all these different things, please don't put that in there, because there is going to be, from what we understand, there's going to be like a overall summary of this. CMS is not going to list your name, your CAG, your address. They're not going to do that. But if something slips in, it's just better for us not to do it. I think that's something to take into consideration. And then I think with our template we created, feel comfortable to cut and paste. That's okay. I understand the incredible stress of being a caregiver. And sometimes when I was caregiving, and still today, my mind's blank. I was tired. I was exhausted. I couldn't even answer what I wanted for dinner, let alone be in a portal answering 39 questions. If you feel intimidated and you feel like, I really want to participate, but I just cut and copy, and then maybe put some of your own little words in there, or some of your own feelings.
And as a caregiver, there's a place for you to share your experiences, but also you can share the experiences through the patient section as well. If you are caring for someone who maybe isn't able to type, or they're not able to stare at a screen for a long length of time or anything like that. So you can ask them questions, or you can answer on behalf of them as well. So you have those 2 different perspectives too.
Absolutely. And I think that I'm speaking for Jenna here, but I think she would agree that if you guys need any help, if you're getting stuck,
Yeah.
if you need help, call us, email
Mhm.
us. We all have emails at Health Rate. You can go through our website and ask questions if you need to. We are here
Mhm.
to walk you through this and help you get through like we would be with an FDA docket. This is the same thing.
Mhm.
We are here to help you use your voice and advocate. I find this interesting that I've been doing this 19 years, and this is the first time I've really gotten involved with policy. It's very interesting, but this is the first time we've really been directly really hit with the policy
Impacted. Yeah.
and will possibly have big impact in the future.
Yeah. And I think we're all learning together. And again, to reiterate what I mentioned before, this is how I see it. This is really about raising awareness for the experiences in the Huntington's disease community. And this next step. So after this set of questionnaires, there will be an open session. I guess not open session. They will have a listening session where speakers will be allowed to apply to be a part of it, very similarly to other recent advocacy efforts and what with FDA listening sessions and the PFDD that happened. And so we want to make sure that we get people from the HD community to apply for that because it further emphasizes our point. I think it's important to acknowledge the fact that when we mentioned to the Movement Disorder Policy Coalition about the fact that HD as a neurodegenerative disease with no other therapies should be a part of anything that has the threat of cutting innovation, it was like a light bulb went off in their heads. And so they said that is the biggest piece of advocacy that is needed in this. And while this negotiations from saving Medicare money is a piece of that, it's also this bigger story that could have bigger impacts. But again, we just don't know. And that's the frustrating part about it. So we want to raise those voices and those experiences to make sure that there's no inadvertent cutting or purposeful cutting of rare diseases anywhere that need valuable research to save lives.
Exactly. We're all heading towards the same goal, a curative treatment,
Mhm.
life-changing treatments and therapies for our loved ones and our families. We are going to fight anything that comes against us getting there. And as silly as this may seem, and you don't think it may affect us, it's interesting how we look back 5 years down the road and we go, oh my gosh, why didn't we fight for that? If you choose and you are willing,
Mhm.
we have on the Huntington's Post right now, and Jenna, I'm sure we'll put it on her site as well. It's super easy. We gave you the direct link. So I know that with other communications that have gone, they give you, you go to the CMS webpage, then you have to find this little bar at the top, then you have to push it. Help for HD, when we did this template for the Huntington's Post, and I'm sure Jenna will do this too, we just put this direct link. So you're going to go to this direct link and it's going to say enter your email. You enter your email and then you're going to get an email to give you a link to then enter into the portal. They're trying to keep it so one entry per email. So they're not having people just going in and continuously taking it. It's really one shot per email kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that is how you'll get in the portal. Once you go in there, it's going to ask you questions. Are you a caregiver? Are you a patient? Are you a researcher? Are you a clinician? Are you general public? So no, this portal is for everybody, right? So don't get thrown off by that. You just hit caregiver, patient, whatever you identify as, and then you will be able to, and I don't remember, I think they did say patient, they say condition, it all gets confusing. No
Mhm.
condition that they're talking about Huntington's disease, that gets a little confusing throughout it because of the verbiage they chose to use. Doesn't really make
Because
sense.
of making it to not be disease specific, which is frustrating.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and then on the template on the Huntington's Post right now, the template's actually laid out for you. When you download the actual Word doc, we made it a Word doc. That way
Mhm.
you can cut and copy without any trouble. You'll see it's
Mhm.
more in like a chart form. So it's going to break it down a little bit more. The Huntington's Post is all words, where the chart that we came up with is more broke down per box, per section. So that hopefully that's a little more clear. Unfortunately, when we tried to put it on the post, it looked funky and it rearranged. And so we just said, we'll make it downloadable, but this is actually, you can also cut and copy from the post. That's fine. I think that's it. Let us know if you need help. This is a huge advocacy opportunity. I think so often we say, how can we help? What can we do? This is something
Mhm.
you can do.
Yeah, I think if you want to learn more, if you want to get involved, or this is also something that you can talk with your local representatives about as well, to say, what does this mean? How does this affect us? Do you know about Huntington's disease? Can I educate you? I think any kind of opportunity for that education, raising awareness, we have to take advantage of it.
Yeah, and I want to leave you on this with something that you just said that made me think. You guys did receive, if you did receive emails out about this already, and it says if you have any questions, call this phone number or email this person, you will not get a call back and they will not email you back and help you because right now we are in a government shutdown. So
Mhm,
CMS, okay, so we're actually surprised that this portal even opened. It was shocking because
mhm,
we thought it was going to be delayed. So when it opened, it was like, oh, but that's why when Jenna talked about the public hearing, which is where we get to speak, we don't know the date, we don't know how to apply, we don't know
mhm.
anything because CMS right now is locked up. So
It's
call
the communication shutdown of any health service, or just
service,
kind of transition right now that we're
right?
experiencing.
Right. Contact us and we can help you for now. I wish
Mhm,
we had more time than March 1st with the communication shutdown because I don't think that's fair that we're expected to do something, but yet we have no communication on if we have any struggles. Doesn't really quite
mhm.
make sense. I think we're good to
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you all so much for listening. And we're always here to help and support in any way. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to either of us or both of us, whoever you feel safest with. We're all here to support you.
Yes, absolutely. I just found an email in to someone very important at CMS and that's in charge of this. And I will be emailing him. I don't know when he's going to see it or read it, but about
Mhm,
how this portal is not ADA accessible. It is not
mhm,
friendly. It keeps crashing and how much of a burden this has been just on the community and nonprofits that being to create templates and having to redo what CMS did, which is fine. We'll always do that for our community. It's not
mhm,
about that. But CMS needs to know that they made something that's very, in my mind, not ADA accessible.
mhm.
And that's unfortunate. To everyone, I think we can stop there, but thank you for always using your voice and advocating for HD. Help for HD and HGO is there for you if you guys need anything. So let us know. And I think that's it. Till next time, we'll see you guys down the road.
Thank you all.